is it turning over so slow? It's not good. That is not good. Welcome back to Freeman's Garage. This is a big video. This is the 5th video in our swap meet engine swap series with our 1967 Chevy C10 barn find Stepside. Is there anything else I can add on? Truck? Truck? Yes, it's a truck. You don't have to see the previous 4 videos in this series before you watch this one. You can watch this one first if you want, and then go back and watch the others. Everything is linked in the video description down below, so it's real easy for you to go to and click on and watch. Plus, I'm going to put it up on the screen at the end of this video. I really don't want to take you on a trip down memory lane, but in case you're joining this series for the first time, I think it's important that we do, but we'll make it very fast. I don't know why I did this. Wait, what is this? Is that traveling? Is that the traveling penalty? B-ball? Is that B-ball? In video 1, we pulled the original 250 cubic inch straight 6 out of our 67 C10 because it had a cracked block. Video 2, we put another 250 straight 6 in the truck. We bought this engine at a swap meet and it did fire up. Video 3, we had a whole bunch of pilot bushing, engine, bolt to transmission type issues that we couldn't solve in that video. Video 4, we got all those issues solved, everything bolted together and working, but then the engine wouldn't run. So that brings us here, but I think I know why it won't run. And if it's what I think it is, it's gonna be pretty funny. After I shared the previous video on this project with you, I've been thinking about it, and I went back and I watched the video a couple more times to reprocess what took place, and I think it could be one of 2 things. So basically, we took the HEI distributor out of this engine that was in it when we bought it from the swap meet, and we put our points ignition system in it off of our old engine right over there, and it kind of turned out where I don't think that was necessary, because we had spark and compression and fuel and air the entire time with both ignition systems. I don't think our wiring or our voltage or anything has anything to do with this. I don't think either one of our distributors has anything to do with this. I don't think the carburetor has anything to do with this. There was a part in that previous video where we had pulled the number 1 spark plug out, and we looked down inside the cylinder with the flashlight, and I had told you that it looked like the cylinder was bone dry, and when we had pulled all the plugs, the cylinder was bone dry. Now remember also that we were dumping gas down this carburetor like a fire hose. So how in the world? I don't think that the gas was even making it into the cylinders. Now the real crazy thing is that in video 2 of this series, when we first put this engine in the truck, we got it to run. It burnt all the fuel that we poured in the carburetor, or everything that was in the bowl. It burnt it. It ran for 5 seconds or so, and it sounded great. Stick with me here, because I'm getting to my point right now. Before we got our grubby little mitts on this General Motors power plant, who knows how long this engine was sitting around. And this carburetor that was on it when we bought it, which, by the way, we haven't taken the valve cover or the carburetor off. We haven't touched any of that. This is the way it was when we bought the engine. Who knows how long this was even bolted onto this intake manifold. For all we know, this thing sat around for years without a carburetor on it. And do you recall when we swapped alternators, we were knocking out all the grass clippings and stuff down there? That means that this thing was sitting somewhere and grass was being cut around it. So for all we know, the inside of this intake manifold is full of grass clippings, leaves, or nuts from a squirrel, or a mouse nest. We have finally arrived at my point that I'm trying to make. I think either our valve train / camshaft, all the little bits and pieces is screwed, and they're not opening and closing properly, which is why fuel is not making it from the runners in the intake manifold into the cylinders. Or there is debris inside the intake manifold, but it was all sitting around here, you know, right where the hole is. And in video number 2, it was able to fire up and run for a few seconds. But when that occurred, it took the mouse nest or whatever is in here and sucked it down the runners and into the cylinder heads where the backside of the valves are, and clogged everything up. I'm hoping to get this engine running fairly quickly here so that you and I can hop in the cab and go for a little blast down the back road and test the swap meet engine out. So let's go ahead and get the valve cover off. The bolts are 7/16, so I'll grab that. In fact, I think I have. Yeah, okay. Got a 7/16 setup right here. So let's get this valve cover off, and we'll turn the engine over and verify that our valves are opening and closing, because if the intake valves are not opening, then that means that, yeah, the fuel's not making it into the cylinders. And the reason why we're going to take the valve cover off first is because if the problem is actually debris, mouse nest, or squirrel nuts, or a rag or something in the intake manifold, that's going to be a lot bigger surprise and funnier than, well, I mean, that would mean there's nothing wrong with the engine. You know what I mean? So that would actually be a good thing. So let's verify that we don't actually have an engine that has to come out and be blown apart into pieces and probably rebuilt and all that stuff. Yeah. We got a clinker in amongst the blue bloods. Oh, actually we've got 2 clinkers. That's a factory bolt that takes a 3A socket. And then there's our clinkers. One there and one there. Looks like that's going to be a 7/16. It's a really nice tool storage and part storage area on top of this radiator. I'm digging it. Alright, we will pull off our positive crankcase ventilation hose, if you will. And if this engine turns out to be a good runner out on the road and it's going to stay in the truck, we can pull some of these factory bolts, the 2 that we need, off of our old engine, and we'll be good to go. This is exciting. We are about to see if there's any broken parts, any broken valve train parts underneath the valve cover. Okay. Well, everything looks good. At first glance, anyways. There's a little piece of debris right here. Oh, this is just the piece you peel off of a jug of oil. It's clean, it's rust-free. It's got oil on everything. I don't see anything cracked or broken. Let's hop out and hook up the remote starter switch and spin the engine over and see if everything's working properly. We're not gonna get all fancy right now either. We're just going to just put our, ow! I just stabbed myself with a strand of battery cable. We're just gonna put on battery cables, just loosey-goosey. And we've already got one end of our remote starter switch down there on the starter. You do it on the purple wire on these trucks, in case that's something that you needed to know. These are not how-to videos though, I always stress that. All right, and then to our positive terminal on the battery. There is a key in the ignition, but it's not turned on, so there's no power going to our points ignition system, so there's no chance of it starting and running through this wall. All the valves are opening and closing. All the intake valves, all the exhaust valves. All right, now this is exciting because, well, first off, it means that there's most likely nothing broken or wrong with the engine, so that's good. And the other thing that it means is that we're taking the carburetor off now, and it probably is a sock, a rag, mouse house, something in there, jammed in the intake manifold, blocking flowage of fuelage. Boy, I hope so. And you know what? If it's a tie-dye t-shirt or something in there, soaking everything up that we poured in, well, then that means that we didn't dilute the oil with gas and need to change it. So, which, well, I guess, well, here. It's a little gassy and it's over full. Dang it. Wait, hold on. So that tells me that the fuel that we were pouring in must have got into the cylinders and then overnight leaked past the rings down into the crankcase. Uh-oh. That kind of makes me think that there isn't a restriction inside the intake manifold. So no matter what, we need to change the oil before we drive the truck. If we get it to fire up here in this video, we're going to shut it down and change the oil before we let it idle in here and tune the carburetor or drive it or anything like that. So let's get the carburetor off now. Yeah, I don't know, my friends. I don't know. All we got to do to take this carburetor off is take off one clip, which is kind of a pesky one down here. But once I get this clip off, okay, it's about to come off. Once I get this clip off for the linkage, then all we do is just a 9/16 nut on both sides, and we'll be able to raise it up. Well, we'll take the fuel line off too. We could possibly do it without taking it off, but well, let's leave the fuel line on for now. Let's just raise the carburetor up and just peek inside. Let's do that for now. And I'm not going to set this clip up here on the cowl so that it can fall through. Well, I'll put it over here off to the side. Which reminds me, before we drive this truck, don't let me forget. Remind me that we need to get the 9/16 wrench that we dropped inside the cowl in a previous video in this series. Don't let me forget. I want to get that out. Otherwise, it might find its way into a nook or cranny that you might not ever get it out of. I just hope there's nothing wrong with this engine. That's my hope. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I want it to be something jammed in the intake. I want, just the comedic part of that. It'd be so funny. It'd be so funny to see something like that. Okay, it can lift off right now. But think about that. I know that the guy I bought this engine from, I know he got it from someone else. He told me that. But I don't know when it was or exactly where the engine was sitting, like we talked about before. So it's very possible that this engine sat around for a long time without a carburetor on it, and then right before the swap meet, he put a carburetor on it to sell it. You never know. Either way, this gentleman did not pull any funny business on us, alright? There's nothing like that. Alright, here we go. Please be something in here. I want to see it right away. Oh, it's a little gunky, but I don't see anything. We gotta take this fuel line off. And our steel line for our vacuum advance. I really should be using a line wrench on this to lessen the risk of stripping this out. But, you know, when you're an outlaw, you don't use turn signals either, you know. I mentioned our vacuum advance line to you, and then I forgot about it after I said something. I'll just unplug it from the end where it meets the rubber line. Smells like we should probably take this carburetor apart and clean it. Alright, you can go over there, sweetheart, for right now. So that's what we're seeing from first glance. Telescoping magnetic flashlight on a stick. Link in the description for some options for some different ones if you want one for yourself. Let's root around in there a little bit. No, I don't see anything so far from here. I don't have a wire coat hanger handy here at Freeman's garage at the moment. So I grabbed this rusty old unusable brake line that came off of our 56 Chevy, which is over there on the other side of the garage. Let's bend this up a little bit and stick this in here. See if we can't find something. If we root around a little bit. Well, this isn't working very good. Let's just take the intake manifold off. Plus, I can't see in there very far, so let's just take it off. We've got the tools we need already sitting up here, so crikey. Jeez, that's tight. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I'm not laughing as much anymore. Because I think I'm laughing less with each additional thing that's starting to come off of this engine. So let's hope that when we pop the manifold off the cylinder head in just a second, that something comes falling out or we see something. Otherwise, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. When I take stuff like this apart, where you're taking nuts and bolts out and whatever, I like to set stuff down in a certain order so I can put it back in exactly how it was without getting things mixed up. Now I know I've done this enough on these engines where I know just by looking at the bolt exactly which hole it goes into, but I still do stuff in some sort of a ordered fashion. So what I did here is this bolt here is the very back one, and then it goes from back to front. So that way when we put it back together, I don't even have to look at it. I just grab each one and put it back together. Which is funny because everything still takes me forever to do anyways, right? I mean, isn't that just kind of the nature of working on stuff like this? Ooh, we need to disconnect our throttle return spring and this other chunk of our throttle linkage to disconnect us from the gas pedal. Otherwise, if we tried to do it without doing that, we'd bend and break stuff. Okay, manifold sliding up. Here we go. Our exhaust is connected. Our exhaust pipe is bolted to the flange of the exhaust manifold. That's fine, that can all stay together. Here we go. I gotta get off these little studs. Oh no, I don't see anything! I don't see anything as of right now. Not cool. This is a combination manifold, so this right here, this is the exhaust. And then this is part of the exhaust manifold too. You can see that's the exhaust. And then this is the intake. And so these are our runners, which is what we're hoping has debris jammed in there. And nothing bit my finger. I don't know if there's anything in there. You know what though? If we take this flashlight and we put it in here, see, we can see the light, right? Now if we put it in this one, because I just did this on both ends, here and down here. If we stick it in there, okay, we can't see any light right there. Now either that's from the bend in here, or there's something blocking here and there. Let's come back to that in a second, and let's look in through the ports of our cylinder head. Now that does not look very clean. That rust in there is from the water that was in the engine when we got it. Let's look at the intake again. Let's find out if there is a blockage in those corners. Let's put some compressed air through the intake manifold, and I may have been a fool for lesser things. But not this time. Not playing that game. Not playing the rust flake explosion in the eyeball game. Been there. Let's see what happens. We're not going full blast. I think I got the regulator set at 100 PSI. We'll go. Take it easy. Well, there's definitely air coming through, which means a liquid can get through. There is no restriction in the intake manifold. There is no restriction in the ports of the cylinder head. The valves are opening and closing just like they should. It's kind of funny how my huge, long-winded speech at the beginning of this video has now dwindled and tumbled into almost nothing, kind of like a snowball headed for head. I just noticed this. Is that cat or is that raccoon? Anyways, you want to see what it looks like in here? when I shine the flashlight into these ports and hit the switch on the remote starter switch. It's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of what to do now. Think, McFly, think. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Let's bolt the intake manifold back onto the cylinder head and we'll pour gas straight down the manifold with no carburetor, and let's see if it pops, bangs, shabams, does something. If it does, then we know the carburetor is suspect. I won't. This isn't going to work, but if this does work, we'll take the carburetor off of our old engine, our Rochester B1 barrel, and we'll throw it on here. I don't know. Here I go, again on my own, going down the only road I know. Oh, there's a huge rip in my pants! How long has that been like that? Been wearing these almost every video of this series and you didn't say anything? Jeez. Some friend you are. You know, trying to get this combination manifold back on the studs on the cylinder head with the exhaust, the tailpipe bolted up, can be a real tricky job bob. Sometimes. That's what we're dealing with here. There we go. Oh, almost, come on. There we go. You may think I'm crazy. Well, I'm not the one that jumped a Harley Davidson 133 feet over 14 Greyhound buses. I probably shouldn't have put that much in there. Really. I suppose I should probably turn the key on then. Maybe I am crazy. The gas in this intake manifold, it just sits here. That's partly because of the way it's made. It's a rough casting, you know, it's not polished and all super special, if you know what I mean. None of that fuel probably even made it through the ports in the cylinder head, which means that it wouldn't make it to the cylinders. But remember, we are over full when we checked oil, and it did smell like gas. So the crazy amount of gas that we were pouring in here the last time did find its way down into the crankcase, which would mean that it had to have been in the cylinders at some point. Yes, the carburetor has a job. But if this fuel was in these cylinders, under compression with spark, it would pop and it would bang. It won't be efficient, it won't be controllable, but it'll make noise, right? It'll explode inside those cylinders if there's spark and compression, right? I got a better idea. So the carburetor here that we took off, now it smells like turpentine. We should open this and clean it up inside and put it back together and put it back on the truck. But the condition of it, I don't think should matter, because it's the same as if there's no carburetor on there. All we're doing, this is just a hole straight through. Okay, we're just pouring the gas through the carburetor just to get it in the hole in the intake manifold like we just did. That's all we've been trying to do when we've been trying to test fire this engine, just to get it to pop off, right? Yeah, if this isn't all working well, it's not going to work, but it'll pop and bang, right? How many times have I said pop and bang? So, let's do this. Let's take our remanufactured in Canada Carter YF single barrel carburetor that needs a cleaning. And let's take our Rochester B 1 barrel off of our old engine. That's carburetor is ready to rock and roll. I'm kind of stepping over things that I'm saying, but even though I don't really think the carburetor is going to make a difference here, I'm just trying to get it to just pop off. But you never know. Maybe if we put this Rochester B on, maybe it'll fire right up and run. Maybe. But the longer I stand here and jibber jabber about it, the longer it's going to be until we find out. And I don't want to wonder anymore, I just want to find out. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to take that carburetor off and I'm going to put it on here. Because, you know what I'm saying, I'm just kidding. Let's get this carburetor. Oh yeah, I forgot our factory steel fuel line is stripped out on this. That's the way it was when I got the truck. So we need a vice grip. You didn't see me use pliers on that, okay? I find a little bit of humor in the fact that one of my original ideas with this swap meet engine swap was to put the engine in the truck the way that we got it and then spend some time driving it that way, and then maybe swap the HEI that came with it out and put our points in and see what kind of a performance difference there may or may not be. And I was thinking about doing the exact same thing with the carburetor, where we could take the run the Carter YF that came on it for a while and then swap out to the Rochester B and just, oh, that's a half. Need 9/16. I reached for that because my ratchet one won't fit in here. So I was thinking about, I'll try it again though. So I was thinking about, we could swap the carburetor too and see what kind of a difference there is, good or bad. But parts from one engine have been making their way to the other engine, kind of all on their own here, unplanned. And we haven't even drove the truck at all yet with the swap meet engine. Alright, here we go. Oh. Boy, I have just got the craziest songs just rattling in my head right now. You want to know what song I just heard start playing in my head? Remember that, do you ever remember hearing Ace of Base? Why is that playing in my head? I haven't heard that song since 1996. Wow, this is gonna be interesting. I have got as much of a clue about what's gonna happen here in a second as you do. All I can tell you right now is that with these carburetors, these single barrel carburetors. Now, I'll just finish what I was saying first. Where you got one nut on each side. That's all you got. You need to tighten these things down evenly or you're going to have leakage. Don't crank one side down all the way before the other. The Rochester B, which we're bolting on now, and the Carter YF that we took off, they both were available on the 250 straight 6 from the factory. Now, the specifics about which years you could get each carburetor, you know, that's a little foggy in the dome, you know. For a guy who technically didn't qualify to pass high school, that's a lot to remember. All right, let's dump some fuel in here and then see what happens. Please, please. We're not going to put much in here because there's that fuel already sitting in the intake. But I don't know, just a teeny splash. I didn't even mean to put that much in there. I didn't even mean to do that much. Just to get the systems, just to get it in there. The choke is wide open. The throttle is not hooked up from the truck to the carburetor. So it's the butterfly is just sitting where it should be for idle. Okay, please. Oh! And if this fuel pump does work, which I don't think it does. I think it's it's probably all gummed up, but as it clearly hasn't been pumping, over these videos that we've been cranking this engine over. But if it does pump some way, somehow, it's gonna shoot fuel like a rocket right out that line, and it's probably going to go all over my pegboard. All right, here we go. And even after saying that, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, all right. Here we go. Please. I think I just saw a sticky valve. That thing took a while to come up. Is it just me or is it turning over kind of slow? I think over the course of the last video and this video, maybe we've drained our brand new battery a little bit. Maybe we should charge it. But still. Do you remember when it was 20 below zero and I got that Mercury big block to fire up buried in snow and that thing barely turned over and that ran? You would think this would be fast enough. Oh, is the key still on? Yeah, the key is on. Zen. The battery's been charging for a while. It should have a little bit more giddy up go in it now. Let's take the fuel pump off of our old engine and put it on our new engine. Because we know that one's good to go, just like that carburetor's good to go. And the tank in the truck is full, or at least half full. There's gas in it, that's what I'm saying. It's neat that this steel fuel line that's on this fuel pump lines right up with the Rochester B. So now you know, Carter YF Rochester B, your inlet location is in the exact same spot. We're gonna leave that steel fuel line though on that fuel pump. We're gonna use the steel line that's on our old fuel pump because it's less we have to do. We don't have to switch the lines over. Leftovers from our water and oil mixture that was in here. We definitely were going to change the oil again. This pump here off our old one, off our old engine. Oh yeah, that's a good pump. I just had a flashback in my head of when we rebuilt that dual action fuel pump that pumps your fuel and wipes your wipers. That's a really good memory. I really, really do enjoy that video. That's a good one. Let's put this thing in, shall we? We're not even gonna worry about the gasket right now. I'm not worrying about a little bit of spilt oil. What the heck? Ow! How did it get tangled up like this? How is this? I can't figure out how that happened. All I know is I'm getting oil all over my nice clean gray spark plug wires. Let's unplug the battery charger. Probably could have done that a couple minutes ago. Get these off my hand. Put those down there. I may not be a smart man, but our little radiator tool tray is kind of getting a little full, and the finger guard's not on here. And even with the finger guard, as we all know, we don't want a repeat of that one time that we're not supposed to talk about. No, I don't think the key being on is going to do anything if we don't hook the battery up. Let's get pumped up here. Let's do this. This is going to work. This is the ticket. Let's start pumping fuel. Because it's going to pump now. I mean, as long as the camshaft's not broken, it's going to pump. I felt the lobe on the camshaft that turns on the fuel pump. I felt it with my finger in there, so I know it exists. So we got a working fuel pump connected to our tank that has fuel in it. So it should be pumping. It might take a little bit, but it should start pumping fuel into the carburetor. Let's just do it. I really don't understand what's going on now. So what we're going to do, because it's the only thing I can think of right now, is let's pull this distributor back out. Let's pull this distributor out, and we'll bring the engine around to top dead center on the #1 cylinder, and we'll stab this distributor back in. Maybe we got that goofed up. I doubt it because I'm the one that put it in. But you never know. You never friggin' know. This is just fun. I really get my kicks out of this. So I'm going to put my thumb over the spark plug hole. I'm not going to put it in, I'm going to put it on the hole because we don't want our finger to get smashed by the piston. And I'm also watching the fan blade down here, making sure I stay clear of that. I'm just going to tap the engine over. That was the compression stroke right there. It's actually at top dead center on the compression stroke right now. But let's go around just to enjoy the beauty of what all this stuff does. It's so cool. All right, here we go. Okay, so the exhaust valve just opened. So now the piston is going to start coming up and it's going to push the exhaust out of that exhaust port and through our exhaust. Okay, and now the exhaust valve is closed and now the piston's coming back down again and the intake valve is opening to let our air-fuel mixture in. Okay, and now the piston's going to come back up and the exhaust valve and the intake valve, they're going to be closed at the same time. And the piston is going to compress. It's going to be a sealed chamber and it's got that air-fuel mixture in it and it's going to compress it all right up at the top. And that's when we're going to get our spark, actually slightly before. We're going to get our spark and bam, that air-fuel mixture explodes, slams the piston down, and it's going to pop our finger off the hole. Just like that. We're at top dead center. We can stab that distributor back in. We are dropping our distributor in with the rotor pointed towards the #1 cylinder. Now, it doesn't have to be like that. You can have it point wherever you want, in theory. It's all about where you want your #1 spark plug wire to be on your distributor cap. You know what one of the best smells in the world is? The material that they used to make made in USA screwdriver handles with Craftsman and this Handyman by Stanley. Oh! I love that smell. Love it. Love it. Call me weird. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Hey, it's Future Freeman here, interrupting the riveting content you've been consuming for just a second here. Just wanted to let you know that the video that you're watching right now, by the time I finished making it for you and doing all the back-end work and cutting out all the fluff, it came out to about 2 hours long. So I decided to split it into 2 hour-ish long videos. But trust me, you're not going to want to miss part 2. I guarantee you will be 100% satisfied. Part 2 will be posted for you to watch in less than 48 hours from now. And if you're watching this, it's most likely been much longer than 48 hours. So you could watch the second part immediately after this one. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Spark plug going back in. I swear it is going to be celebration time if this runs. And if it does run, it's probably going to tell us that the HEI distributor that came in this engine is probably fine. What's going on is it was probably the carburetor slash fuel pump combo, and then when we switched distributors, I didn't put it in right, or I don't know. But once again, I go back to the second video in this series when we first dropped this engine in this truck, and it fired up and ran. I don't know. All right, key on, key on. that is on. And if it looks like I'm leaning weird in there, it's because I'm trying not to touch anything because of our mint interior. And we're not putting any more gas in the carburetor right now anyways. Let's just, are we all hooked up here? Yes, we are. Okay. Please, 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 please me. It's a Beatles song. All right. Please. Here we go. Why is it turning over so slow? Maybe we should tighten these battery cables up. When this is all said and done, if we end up with this engine running, this series needs to be used for training. What's the word I'm looking for? Not case study. What is the word I'm looking for? Should be used for a... Oh, maybe the word I'm looking for is case study. Why is it turning over so slow? That's not good. That is not good. Don't tell me right when it's gonna run. We burn the starter up. I'm gonna go to my office and lay down for a bit and think about this.
Trying not to let my shirt come up and expose my spare tire. And I'm also trying not to expose the hole in the crotch that you didn't tell me about. I'm stuck. Yeah, anyways. I got nothing. Gonna start looking for a new career. Do they still make Cinnabons in shopping malls?
I could probably do that. Shoot, they'd probably let me manage the place. Ah! It will pop.